Hi everyone, I'm Chris Ellery. I'm a reporter in southeastern Pennsylvania, and for today's video I wanted to run through a Nilo interactive data visualization tool with Python and Jupyter Notebook. The library specifically we'll end up using is called Altair, and really it's for what I'm going to do here, I'm just learning Altair now, so I won't be able to go as in-depth as I would normally like to with things I'm more familiar with, but I did just want to sort of show it as sort of an alternative to just static charts that you might want to use as you're analyzing data and developing some story ideas. So we'll go ahead and get started with it then. Okay, so first thing we need to do is we are going to import our pandas library. Import pandas as PD, import numpy as MP. We're going to import glob. I did a video a couple of days ago on concatenating files using the glob library, and I used a database of Pennsylvania voter registration, all 67 counties. So we're going to run that again. So this is just going to be a few things from that particular data set. What we'll end up using is just the county, or excuse me, no, the party code, voter, date of birth, and we'll be doing some value counts to get like the total number of voters to make a scatter plot. And we're going to let that run here. It's going to take a little bit of time there. I'm going to be copying and pasting some things in here because, like I said, I'm still learning Altair, and whatever I can't really walk through in great detail, I'm going to try my best. But just look at this as just a very specific example of one particular data set and data visualization. Okay, now that's loaded in. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to make a party code dictionary. And this one's just going to be really simple. So there's a few hundred different party codes inside of the voter database, and we don't need all of them. I'm going to focus just on Republicans and Democrats and other. So we are just going to map this out. So if it's Republican, or if it's R, it gets Republican. If it's D, it gets Democrat. And we're not going to assign another value. Instead, what we're going to do is we are going to make a new party, or we're going to replace the party code column. df2 party code. Let's see here. Map party code dictionary. And what it's going to do is it's going to read through, and it's going to find, capital R, it's going to replace it like we have in the dictionary, and if it doesn't match what's in the dictionary, it's going to return a nan value. So right after it does that, we're going to have it replace the mp.nan with other. And go ahead and just run that. There we go. You can see how it's already sort of formatted there. Alright, so next thing that I do want to do, since we read everything in as a CSV, and that doesn't retain date-time objects and other special characters like it would in Excel, so we're going to convert the DOB, the date of birth column, to a pandas date-time object, and that is going to be with df2.dob. And, oh, right. Errors equals coerce. And once that goes through, we'll see what the info says to confirm it went through. Okay. There we have it. Date time object for date of birth. Everything else is just a string object. And we are set there. So the next thing we need to do is we need to calculate the date of birth. And to do that, we are going to assign Pandas has its own datetime object for now, and it's basically just the state for today. Um, okay. Pandas has now, it is PD to date time. You know, whoa, whoa. All right. So you have the datetime function to now. That's going to make it a. It's going to take the PD datetime.now function timestamp, turn it to a datetime object, and it's going to store that in the now variable. And next, we're going to create a new column called age, df2. Oh, excuse me, getting ahead of myself. Now minus df2 dot dob, and we're going to do this as type. Format is going to be in years, M8Y. And after that, let's just make sure this goes through first. So it should just return just an integer for age, and see here it did. So now we have the ages, and we are going to do some slight cleaning. The database isn't perfect. It's going to change every single week. There's a lot of moving parts there, and sometimes some data might not be entered in absolutely correctly. Date of birth is one of those things. So you're going to have people who are under 18. You're going to have people that are over 120 years old. But these are very minimal changes. In fact, let's just double check here. The shape, again, is just over 9 million people. And I'm going to get rid of, see here, df2. We're going to do two conditions in this filter. df2.age is greater than 18, greater than or equal to the age of 18, and df2.age is less than, let's say, 120 years old, because that would probably be an age at which we could assume probably not enough people actually are that old. It's just an error in the data. And see here, it's still 9 million people. I believe that's fewer than 1,000. Left a minus on there. Alright, so it looks like we lost about 1,000 people in total. Out of 9 million, that's an acceptable difference to me. Let's see here. We're going to go ahead and save that as our new df2. And finally, we are going to group by, and I'm going to copy and paste this in because it's a little bit easier. We're going to save it as a new data frame, df3. So we're doing a group by age. We are taking the party code value counts, so we're going to have Republican, Democrat, other. We're doing this to frame, and whenever we send it to frame, it's going to double up the party code as its own column name, when really those are the value counts. So we are then going to rename the column party code to voters, and then we're going to reset the index. And because we have the party code index name in there, it's just going to retain that. In 1 second here. df3, let's take a look at what it looks like. Might be a little bit easier to talk about if we can actually see it. There we go. So we have the ages party code. They have these two dimensions which the value count is based on. So when we hit reset index, it just uses those names. If we were only doing the party code value counts, then when we reset index, it would rename that to index, and we'd have to call another rename function. But that's not really important here anymore. So now we have our basic data And the first thing I want to do is I actually want to show you a static plot, just so we have that. Import matplotlib, and I'm going to import matplotlib.pyplot as PLT because I'll need that later anyway. And the easiest way that I could find to sort of plot this out in a static way is to just do one row per party code. We're going to get 3 separate plots. There's other ways to do it. You could overlap them, but well, it's going to be apparent why. So here we have the Republicans, Democrats, and others. If you needed to review this, then you could take a quick look, and you'd have enough information to, I think, sort of start asking questions around. But there might still be some minor details that you want to clear up, and we aren't using a shared axis here on the y-axis. So our peak for Republicans is actually lower than our peak for Democrats overall, and our peak for the other parties tops out just under 35,000. So there's some issues here that you're going to take more time doing this on a static plot. With an interactive plot, we can actually do this all pretty quickly. So we're going to import Altair as alt, and if you need to install this, be sure visit the documentation page for Altair. It's a quick Google search, Altair documentation. There is the recommended installation includes a Vega underscore datasets library. Now that, as my understanding, I thought it was just for source materials for you to practice on, but for whatever reason I couldn't get this to work if I just did a pip install Altair. So I would recommend doing the Altair and the Vega datasets as it recommends in the documentation page. But anyway, so first step we do here is we are going to put in a selected area, which is alt.selection.interval. This will allow us to sort of click and drag certain areas of the map to zoom in on them. We can also zoom in with them in the mouse wheel. It wasn't perfect for me last time I tried to do this, so that might be an extra step we don't need at this point. But I'm going to copy and paste in the code, and we're going to talk about it before I hit enter. So here's the alt library chart, and it is going to be reading in df3. That's our data frame. And mark underscore circle is calling as a function the type of mark that will appear for the scatter plot, so a circle. Next, everything's pretty much housed in this encode function. We assign the x value to age and the y to voters, so that we have the age number on one axis and the total number of voters on the other axis. Then next we do a color, and this is a condition. It just means anything that isn't in the highlighted area is going to be light gray, the alt.value light gray, and we're basing it on the party code, and that'll be each of our colors. You'll see once I enter it here. And then for the tooltip, that basically means as you hover over different dots, it'll show you the total voters, the age, and the party code for the area, for the specific data you're looking at. So let's go ahead and run that. There we go. So, whereas we had these 3 separate charts here, and even if we did combine them, you would have these overlapping charts, and you'd have to search through the database to figure out, what exactly is this value. Here, I can tell you that our peak for the Democrats, age of 30, there's about 82,155 voters. While the peak for Republicans looks to be at 59, that's about 75,152. Democrats also have a second peak around 63. And we can see for other voters, they kind of top out around 29, well 30, 29 or 30, about 33, almost 34,000 people, and then just sort of generally declines the older the voters get. So I think already you can see this makes exploring your data a little bit easier, and there's still some things I'd like to work through, but yeah, I think for the basics, this is should get you off to a good start. Yeah, that's it for today, I guess. I think tomorrow or later this week, I'm going to try a choropleth map, and we'll talk more about that when it gets to it. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching. I hope it's helpful.